Welcome into the Matchday 2 episode of Betting the Pitch, the European Football Soccer Championships 2024 episode. Going to go through the entire list of matches. If you want to hear more about what I was expecting to come into the tournament, please feel free to check out the Futures episode, or the Match Day 1 episode can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on YouTube at the real_G Warner. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, search Betting the Pitch. Would love a 5-star review if you are that type of person. And my favorite type of person is another way to say it. We are heading into Match Day 2. I'm very much looking forward to I think better fortune. The empty net goal from conceded by Georgia today was just the cherry on the cake, I think, or the cherry on top, as I think they'd say in the United States, because that's where I live. But I'm at the real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube, and I will be going through each match on this card and picking out a best bet for the Euro 2024 Match Day 2. Of course, thank you for all the support across the various platforms. Everyone that's been investing at pregame as well. That's been awesome. If you're not a member of my Patreon, check it out, patreon.com/real_G Warner. Best spot to get all my plays, leans, write-ups, everything before we get into this card. So let's start with, and I have been tracking the lines as much as I could since they've come out. Wearing my Österreich or Austria Football Club shirt that I got on the way out of Vienna last year. They deserve so much better. So many of these teams deserve so much better. And I think there's going to be a lot of value on betting against what just occurred in that first match day. So we'll start with the Wednesday, June 19th, which this is being recorded late night for a lot of you, and certainly very early morning if you're tuning in from Europe. I appreciate you over there. And please let me know if you are. Would love that in a 5-star review. That'd be nice. But we'll start with Croatia and Albania. Croatia, a 1.25 goal underdog. All the juice on Albania right now. Over under is 2.5. Juiced very heavily to under. So I'll start and kind of give an idea of what I saw from these teams in their first matches. And the nice part about being in this group stage with 4 teams in a group, I'll remind everyone that there are 4 third-place teams that are moving on. So there is going to be plenty of third-place teams that will be moving through. So that's a big deal. Basically, if you finish bottom of your group, you are eliminated. But if you finish third place, you have a very good chance to be one of those to get through. And unfortunately, you get to play a 1 seed from another group, which is probably one of the biggest footballing nations in Europe. But at least you get on to the knockout stages, and maybe you can pull off an upset. Croatia, very disappointed with their first outing against Spain. I don't know necessarily they deserve to be beaten as badly as they were. But there are some great individual performances by kind of who you wouldn't have expected from Spain, which you could argue is a Croatian problem, that they were too focused on the wings that were getting a lot of the press coming into the tournament. But I don't think that Croatia's midfield, which is definitely ancient, I don't think it looked too old to play at this competition. I thought there were some really good pieces. Croatia just weren't able to score. And unfortunately, Spain and were efficient with their chances, it felt like to me. From an Albania side, they played a really tough matchup with Italy. There's a ton of Albanians all over the crowd, and we're doing a lot. I don't know if anyone saw the video of them breaking pasta in front of some Italian fans. It's hilarious, but I mean, clearly, hopefully a little bit less violence. Breaking pasta, I know, violent to some Italians out there for sure. Probably not as bad as what was going on at Georgia and Turkey today on June 18th on Tuesday. But regardless, that doesn't matter so much. I think the crowds do. Croatia, a smaller nation than most of the really, really talented footballing ones in Europe. I mean, everyone seems to show out pretty well, I think, in these tournaments. But there are some spaces like with Turkey today in Dortmund where they were pretty much a home crowd. And I think that's a really big deal, especially if you can find an underdog that's basically playing a home match and it's not treated as one because it's on a neutral site in Germany. I think that matters. I don't know that the Germans will get that much, but we can talk about that later. So, including the next match up on this list. But for Croatia and Albania, so Croatia have not had great success in the Euro. It's really been their great performances have come in the World Cup. And I feel like they've been most impressive really when they get to the knockout stages. Getting there is the biggest question, especially after a pretty heavy defeat in their first match day. And I think goal differential is pretty important. So they have a lot to avenge here. And this is certainly the easiest group match that they have before they get Italia in their last matchup. And I think that means that this is Croatia's tournament here. If they can win this match, then they can probably just get a draw against Italy in their final match day, and that'll be enough to get them through. I'm sure it seems like four gets through in this competition now that so many third place teams get through. Um, though I imagine there might be some threes that still have a chance because I think it's going to be tough to win matches in this tournament. But we'll see because there's been a lot of results so far that have changed that a little bit. But that'll be easier to speak about on the match day 3 episode. But for what we have here now, the Albanian side, because I'm an underdog and an under player, it's been a really tough start to the tournament. I think overs were 5-0 in the first 5 matches, excuse me. 4-1 were favorites in those matches. So it was a very, very bad start for bettors like me. But this is going to be an underdog and under tournament moving forward. And I'm fully believing in that. That's what we've seen from international competitions for a long time. And I think there's only going to be more value in those sort of things. Plus, the betting marketplaces have not really adjusted to a huge run of overs and favorites covering so far. So for the Albanian side, I mean, they came into this tournament with a lot of not much fanfare, clearly picked to finish bottom of this group, but there was, I think, a lot of positive things said about the Albanians because they had a very successful, very defensive, but very successful qualifying campaign. It's a little different when you step up and have to play Italia, but they did take an early lead, took their big chance of the match, and then kind of faced a stalled out Italian strategy to basically make Albania have to beat them. And it is a great plan by Italy. I don't think it was expected, especially after so many goals scored early in the match, but there's a lot of nothing happening on, I want to say it was Sunday or maybe I think Saturday actually, of last weekend. But Croatia, I mean, this is a match they need to win. And so they're going to go for it. They're a big favorite here, -1.25 goals. In terms of where this number has moved, I initially tracked this at 1 goal with with all the juice on Croatia. So pointing towards going to 1.25. That has happened here again. And so it feels like we're going to flip flop between 1 and 1.25 until this match kicks off. I'm pretty interested, I gotta say, in the Albanian side here. I feel like I mean, getting more than a goal in this tournament, I think is going to be a really great thing to have. And for now, that's kind of my biggest interest. Under 2.5 correlates completely because really you don't want, at least I've found, I don't want to have underdogs in high scoring matches because it's really hard to go for a goal. And when you fall behind, the second goal a lot of times comes sooner than your first goal, the second goal from your opponent. I think this is still a match where Albania, I mean, but having these teams both lost their first matches, and while that's not a death sentence, it does certainly impact how they have to go about. And if Albania is trying to get through to the knockout stages, they know they need to win at least one of their remaining matches, and they're going to be pretty tough. Croatia here and the highest ranked team in their group in Spain. But I don't think that makes them all of a sudden throw caution to the wind and think, okay, we can play through Croatia. We're going to be very aggressive. I think instead, Albania are going to defend again for a lot of this match. And I think that puts the under and underdog as my biggest interest in the 8 a.m. Central Time, Dallas Standard Time, or whatever, for Wednesday, June 19th. Moving next to Germany hosting Hungary. Germany with a good rest advantage because they got to play the opener Friday of last week. Germany currently a 1.75 goal favorite at home right now. Over under is 3, juiced all the way to over. Almost all the way to the juiced 1.75 right now in Hungary, which we might see this one hit too. That's what I'm certainly waiting for. But certainly the movement has all been right around 1.75, and the Hungary side has had most of the juice so far. In terms of the total, it seems like the over continues to get bet, which I think is a good thing for me because I like unders, as everyone who listens to this podcast. I also went to Germany against Hungary in Leipzig a couple seasons ago, October, or I want to say late September of 2022. And Hungary brought a ton of fans, the Magyars as they call themselves. And Magyars went in, got an early goal off a corner kick, set piece routine, and then stalled out Germany the rest of the match, which was awesome. And I mean, I got to say, it was a pretty dead environment. I think Germany will be a lot bigger of a crowd fan base for this matchup, but still Germany a really big favorite. Of course they would be after throttling Scotland, but that's what happens when they have an incredible finish on Musiala. They had another goal before that, so 2-0, and then got a late red card penalty combo So of course that was going to send Scotland to a no chance mode. And still, Scotland were able to find a goal. It's pretty unlucky or unlikely, but it happened. And I don't think that Germany is by any means safe in this tournament. They are very likely to get through, especially with a great goal difference and at home and with a win in their opener. But I think Hungary are not as bad as they looked this weekend. Conceded a late goal when they were pushing to equalize after falling behind 2-0. There's a really awesome goal that was scored that pretty much was the deciding factor against Switzerland. And I think Hungary has basically sat in there and in their whatever hotel rooms and been really disappointed and or will be very motivated to show up here. Whereas Germany thinks, okay, we've solved all our problems. We are going to win this tournament. We are at home. And I think there's a lot of pressure that comes with it because everyone's expecting Germany to win this match, especially judging by the spread. With that said, Hungary as a bigger underdog than Scotland were in that first matchup, the opener of this tournament, getting that extra quarter of a goal is far too much. So give me Hungary getting 1 3/4 goals. And I also like the under 3 here because I think those correlate. I think Hungary, if they take a lead, they will try to stall this one out just like they did when I was in the stands for it a year and a half ago. But also, I think the Germans and their offense is not going to be as, I mean, they. Nicholas Füllkrug, I think, should be their striker, not Kai Havertz, but certainly both of them scoring in the first match day doesn't seem like much is going to change there. But the Hungarians, I think, are going to be up for this one because they have to be because they need a result here at the very least to then set them up for a very big match day 3 with Scotland, where they'd probably need 3 points in that one. But I don't think a win is completely off the table, which I would love that 10.5 to 1 right now that BetOnline's offering. But I think at this point, I'm mostly interested in the spread and that under, again, correlated. Moving to the nightcap on Wednesday, we have Scotland, a half a goal underdog to Switzerland. Almost all the juice in Switzerland right now. Over under is 2 1/4. Juice very heavily to over, just like Switzerland's getting a lot of the juice. In terms of where this number has moved, not much. Half of a goal pretty much this whole time. Looks like some bets have been coming in on Scotland. Wouldn't be shocked by that because the UK seems to dominate soccer betting globally. It's probably why this match is the last match of them all. I don't know why that would be. I think Germany Hungary would be as the host, which should be the latest match, but maybe that's a good thing. From a Swiss perspective, I mean, I don't think they played great, but they had a couple of really good, awesome plays in their match with Hungary, hung on for dear life and got a late goal. And it was huge for them to try to advance here. Puts them in really great position. And I think Scotland will probably act very defensively. They lost a center back to a red card, but they have more of those and don't have to play with 10 men for 50 minutes, which is probably a big deal in this matchup. But I think the Scotland side is probably too low for me. I feel like there's a lot of respect for Scotland in this number, which I don't really understand. The Swiss were certainly talked about very negatively. They had a no-name striker start and score an opening goal on a great run to stay onside. It was initially called offside. But I think from where this match is, Switzerland can be, they should be the aggressor. They are the favorite. It's a neutral site, though, and favorites on neutral sites are awkward. And I feel like that's usually a very good spot to be is betting underdogs on neutral sites. They're not so effective, I think, on the road. But with this matchup, I think we see very few goal mouth actions from Scotland. They don't have much in the striker department. They have good midfield. I thought would be a lot more problematic for Germany to deal with, but Scotland just sat in defense the whole time. I feel like that's what we're going to see here, and I think that's going to be a very good move for under rather than the Scotland side. Probably look at it if they got to a full goal of insurance, but I doubt that's going to get there. Moving to Thursday, June 20th, we have Slovenia and Serbia in the first matchup. Slovenia with a big draw, probably deserved more, I think, against Denmark. But they suffered a really great goal off of a throw in. But a draw was big, especially coming from behind. While Serbia took on the best and title favorite in the entire competition. England in their first matchup lost 1-0, but really, I mean, England, as I have suggested, they play with too conservative of a manager. They're too pragmatic, even when they're a far better team. I mean, we're over a goal favorite and we're playing not to just hang on for a 1-0 victory like they were Slovakia against Belgium, for example. It's not the way to do it, but that's more of an England discussion. I'll get to them next match. But for Serbia, they're very talented, of course, always, but the execution in tournaments is never good. Slovenia, I think, I mean, they have no names besides Luka Doncic, which matters to American bettors. And I feel like the Serbians have some famous players. And I think that will impact this number. Plus, I don't think there's going to be a huge crowd advantage. I mean, there will be a lot of people there, of course, but I feel like it won't be skewed significantly to deserve some sort of home field advantage or something like that. In terms of where this number is, Slovenia even money at getting a half of a goal. I think there's a good chance this climbs to 3/4. I'll be waiting for that, especially as that was a similar price to what they were to Denmark in the opener. And I thought Slovenia were the better team that day, deserved everything they got, and I really like them in this matchup. So I'm interested in Slovenia getting at half of a goal, also like under 2.5. As I just feel like Serbia, with all these big offensive names, haven't really scored enough goals to really justify a lot of the pub that they get for the names that are in their team. And I think it all correlates to Slovenia trying to steal a goal with Šeško, who I think the post he hit is still rattling from 3 days ago. But just ultimately, I think Serbia is a big favorite that shouldn't be such a favorite in this competition or really in any until they prove that they can do it. Slovenia, no names, but ultimately a good cohesive style. And I think that's important in this tournament. Moving to the next matchup on the 20th of June, we have Denmark and England. Currently, Denmark a 3/4 goal underdog. Almost all the juice on England. Over under is 2.25. Juice slightly more to over than to under. And I think this number is really taking into account how England played after they took a lead against Serbia. It might be because their defense is really banged up and it's bad anyway. But I think that's a big problem for them trying to cover big spreads. Now, Denmark, I'm not in love with after how poorly they performed in the World Cup, but they did take a lead against Slovenia and then were really hanging on. I think the best case scenario here is a low scoring matchup, which I think both teams want, Denmark being the inferior side and England just being stupid. And so I think under is my biggest interest here, under 2.25, as opposed to taking the 3/4 of a goal on Denmark. Though if that is +1, I do like the insurance goal fading England. I did it with Serbia, which was scary. Especially with that. I mean, they're big name defenders for Serbia, and they're all big dudes, but they're certainly not known for their defense. But only allowing England one goal and basically marking Harry Kane out of the match to where he's playing central defensive midfielder just to pick up the ball at times. I think that's telling about England and their high expectations that will not be delivered upon once again. Last matchup on Thursday is Spain and Italy. Now, this makes sense to be in that last window, two of the most successful countries in Europe in soccer for sure. Spain currently a 1/4 goal favorite with all the juice. Over under is 2.25. Juice is split both ways, so can't really tell which way that will move. With that said, I feel like this number has been moving. I guess it was initially seeing some Italian money. Now some Spanish money has been hitting at BetOnline, SportsBetting.ag. If you're not a member there yet, go follow the links in the podcast description. You get free money from each of those casinos. You don't have one, get the other. They're the same sister sites. Thank you for their support of the Betting the Pitch podcast. You can certainly follow that on all your social platforms or wherever you get your podcast. Italy, I thought were very conservative after they took a lead, but also made a really big mistake that put them behind. That might have played a part into what the Italian strategy was. I think they're still limited offensively, but I think the Italian defense will always be strong because that seems to be what they do in European competitions, world competitions, any international stuff, maybe not so much domestically. But Spain on the other side, they're not the possession team that they were under Luis Enrique, just holding the ball the whole time. They don't play the tiki-taka that won them so many back-to-back, I think, European championships, for the first country to do that, I think, in the early 2000s into 2010s and such. But I think the Spanish side, I mean, they've got a lot of talent, but they are young and they're to me, they got a big win over Croatia, but I feel like that's only making this number bigger than it should be. I'm waiting for this one to climb, as I feel like the Spanish money will hit, as most favorites in this competition do. Favorites and overs pretty much in every sport get hit, especially in soccer, and I think especially in competitions like this where people don't know what they're watching, really. And favorites were so dominant in the first match day. But I think my biggest interest here is in Italy and in the under game that they'll play if they take a lead, or really just trying to keep Spain out for a long time and trying to, because I think Italy knows that they don't have a ton of goal scoring and that they have to kind of find those goals. So they can't play shootouts. I think that plays well into under, and certainly the underdog as well if it's a low scoring matchup. Moving to Friday, June 21st, I will have an ultimate best bet coming into show, so stick around for that. But I'll start with Slovakia, probably the biggest upset of the entire first round. They are a quarter goal underdog right now to Ukraine. Over under here is 2.25 and is juiced more to over. Ukraine is juiced all the way at quarter of a goal favorite. So looks like that might hit a half of a goal. Slovakia, I thought were very good against Belgium. Took kind of a crazy lead off of a turnover with a high press. They don't have any attackers to speak of, but they also don't need them if the other teams are going to concede goals or concede big chances. And Slovakia are going to be in a position where they are going to defend, and we know that's going to happen. So I'm very interested in under, which was my best bet on the first episode. Want to know on those. If you're grading me by ultimate best bets, I could not have started any better. Certainly much to be desired in the start to the tournament, but I think underdogs and unders will come around, as I've said. But the Slovakian side, I mean, they're gonna have to deal with Ukraine, who just looked like they were so far away, and they faced another team that's gonna play a similar style. I don't know why Slovakia wouldn't just mirror the game plan they had against Belgium in the first leg or first match day, and also what Romania did to Ukraine. A very defensive side that took some chances, yes, but that's exactly what Slovakia did to Belgium as well. And the Ukraine just really, to me, they're an offensive side that hasn't really delivered upon it. I was very disappointed in what I saw from Sigankov and also from Dovbyk. And I feel like it isn't too hard of a prep because Slovakia just had to play a very defensive brand against Belgium, and I think it will work again. So, very interested in, I mean, Ukraine with a heavy loss in their opener. They need to win here. This is the weakest team in their group, but I think there's a little bit more life for them with a Belgium matchup last, though that certainly doesn't play into the minds for this matchup. This is a match Ukraine needs to win. They should be very aggressive, should be front footed, and I think that leaves them open to Slovakian counterattacks, which I think makes me just as interested in the underdog as the under, because I think Slovakia still will play defensively to try to keep this as low scoring as possible, knowing they don't have the horses that Ukraine do. Next on Friday, June 21st, we have Poland and Austria. Poland, a half a goal underdog with all the juice over unders 2.5, juiced a little bit more to under than to over. Austria, as I wear their Österreich t-shirt, I thought it was like an athletic one when I saw it in like basically a trailer outside their Vienna stadium. And very disappointed when it was just gotten, but whatever. It looks like a cool shirt. Any feedback or if you love the shirt, leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or subscribe on YouTube and comment. I would love that. But anyway, Poland, I'm not sure about Lewandowski's status. He missed match day 1 and they said he was going to be back for match day 2. I would doubt it until I see him in the starting lineup. I think probably a cameo sub appearance, or he might just be out this whole tournament. But the Poland offense was bad even with him. I'm really disappointed because I was hoping that he would be in the lineup because I probably would have gotten us more on the total for that first matchup and really any match he plays. I don't have much faith in him. Austria, of course, being the basically the German farmers just across the border. There will be lots of Austrians. Poland's not too far either. But I think Austrians are very excited about their team. I thought they were very good against France and deserved way better than they ended up getting with a 1-0 loss. Deserved a lot more, I felt. But the big question now is Austria are going to be, they want to counter press. As their manager said, you can't half press, you're not half pregnant. So Austria is going to try to press the ball a ton, but Poland is going to be very defensive, especially if Lewandowski is not in the lineup. They know that the best way for them to try to win a match is steal a goal on a corner kick or a set piece or something of that nature. And then they're going to have to defend this whole time. So the total really hasn't moved too much. Juice is exactly the same when I first wrote it down. There's been a little bit of money coming in on Poland right now, maybe an indicator that Lewandowski will be in the lineup. But I think under is my biggest interest in this one. And I don't hate the idea of fading Austria either, because I feel like a lot of their chances will come from a counter press, and Poland will be playing long balls, just get the ball out of their half. Last but not least, the big one on Friday, June 21st. It's Netherlands and France. Unfortunately, Kylian Mbappe is rumored to be out of this matchup. I'll believe that when I see it. But Batman will return at some point. Netherlands currently a quarter goal underdog. Over under is 2.5, and it's used very heavily to under, a little bit more juice on Netherlands than France. I was pretty unimpressed with the Netherlands. They got a late goal off of a deflected pass that fell perfectly for Wout Weghorst. I still feel like Coleman is too defensive a manager. The lineups he's playing are ridiculous. but it was a big win for them to get against Poland and puts them in position to potentially win this group. France with a narrow win as well, and then losing the best player in this tournament is a big problem. So we'll see what that ends up doing. I think that did adjust this line to a quarter of a goal favorite France on rumors that Mbappe is going to be out of the group stage. Um, I had about a half of a goal, but I think France are a lot better here. The question is what's going to happen in this matchup in terms of like how are the goals going to be scored. I think the Netherlands are going to play a counter-attacking style. That's what Didier Deschamps wants to play as well for France. So I think it's going to be a battle for possession, but both teams don't really want it. And I think a lot of defense, especially after either team scores. So I think under is the biggest interest for me in this one. That's been getting bet a little bit, probably because Mbappe's uh, missing this match, though there's so much talent in the French side. They could put three teams in this tournament. So it will be a downgrade because you can't go from the best player in the world to then the next best because he doesn't play for France. But I think there's going to be some interest for me in under in that matchup. Moving now to the 22nd of June, and we'll start with Georgia and Czech Republic. Georgia, I thought were awesome today. What a game that was too. Of course, it was hidden on Fubo TV because Fox is too broke to pay for an entire World Cup bid or Euro bid or whatever the heck they've been doing, piecing them all together. Shame on you, ESPN, for being so broke. That's probably a Disney problem. Anyway, too much stock talk. Still do want to do a stock podcast, so holler if you want to join me. I might just have rotating guests or something like that. Anyway, Georgia, three-quarter goal underdog. The Czech Republic over-under is 2.5. Juice is split both ways on the total. More juice slightly on the Czech Republic. I think based on how they performed today, though to me it was just playing defense and forcing Portugal to try to find their way through cracks. The Czechs took a lead unexpected with 23% possession or something like that at the time, and then couldn't hold on for dear life either for our point nor for and conceded two goals late in the match. And unbelievable, but that's exactly how unders go to die. 0-0 at halftime, first match to get there, I think, an entire run of this tournament, and still went over, which was ridiculous. But happens, and hopefully that will all change and just get us more value for unders coming in the rest of this tournament. With that said, I think Georgia's going to play the same type of brand that they did against Turkey. They're going to sit back and defend as much as they can. I think the Czechs are going to do a very different game plan because they're not going to sit back and defend exactly like they were against Portugal. But this spread says that the Czech Republic are about as good as Turkey, despite not having anywhere near the crowd that the Turks have. There's so many Turkish people in Germany. It's incredible. Doner kebab, I miss you so much. Magnifico, magnificent. If I knew bellissima, if I knew any Turkish words, I probably would say them. But regardless, I think the Czechs are a very big favorite here. They shouldn't be. Georgia with a +1 today is probably, hopefully, will be my worst beat of this tournament. Incredible. Waited to the end, got a +1, a decent juice, and should have walked out of there with a push on that. But of course, empty net goal when Georgia inexplicably sends a goalkeeper up to try to equalize late. I mean, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to be worried about that because that's definitely gonna be the same strategy, especially after losing their first match and falling to a -2 goal differential instead of -1, which is also stupid. But rookie managers, first time Georgia's been, I think, in this competition. Of course, that will occur. At least it's been a while. And I really just feel like Georgia deserved a lot better. I mean, they hit the post so many times, especially late in the match, that two wonder goals from Turkey, or else Georgia might have even won today. But with that said, Czechs are very overrated right now, so I'll be looking to back Georgia, and I like under as well because I think both teams will be defensive this matchup, at least way more than this line suggests. I guess two more matches. We have Turkey hosting, or not hosting, but it will basically seem like they're hosting because there are so many Turks in Germany, as I said. But Turkey, a 1-goal underdog to Portugal, with slightly more juice right now on the Turks. Over under is 2 3/4, juice more to the over. Portugal, I think, showed a lot of their flaws, problems. They have too many players, and I'm very worried about their camp right now. Also worried about Roberto Martinez, but we'll see how that goes. And Turkey, they have two young studs. Future is bright for Turkish football. Real Madrid, Arda Güler, and also from Juventus, they have Yilmaz, I want to say. Anyway, doesn't matter. I don't need to know their names. They're awesome, huge talents, and Turkey are going to be in a position where they're going to try to defend like crazy against Portugal. And I don't think they need to be that conservative, but getting a full goal of insurance is a big deal. Portugal were very fortunate, I thought, to win today. I thought it could have been goalless at the end of the match and then fell behind. rallied, which was huge, but needed an own goal and another mistake to really, or maybe lucky bounce. I'm major demerits for how Portugal have played. I do have a bet on them to win this entire competition. So I'm really glad they got 3 points because that's essential for them to make the first place seed so they can have the easy path that I was expecting pre-tournament. But I think Turkey are going to be a very live dog in this one, and Turkey are a threat to win this group. If they can win this match, that's a huge thing. But I think even a draw puts them in a good position before they play Czech Republic in that last matchup. Of course, Portugal is going to be a huge favorite to Georgia, but we'll see how Georgia does in match day 2, and that will certainly impact what the line looks like for this last match day, which will be an awesome next episode. So make sure you subscribe and tune in down the line. Last matchup we'll talk about before I get to best bets. Belgium and Romania. Wow, what an amazing event here with Romania sitting at three with 3 points, Belgium with 0. I don't think a lot of people had that. Both those results happening that way. Romanian underdog, Belgium pretty big favorite, but now Belgium here are 1.25 goal favorite. The total is 2.75. She's more to under than to over right now, and actually the Romanian side is getting bet. Tempted to just grab 1.25 right now, but I think I'll wait and see if the money ends up coming in on Belgium. Belgium's been a disaster since the World Cup, since Roberto Martinez was in charge, and now Domenico Tedesco, who really flamed out at Red Bull Leipzig and hasn't really been an international manager before, never in a tournament. I think it's a very tough job for him, and I don't really believe in what anything that Belgium is doing. Lukaku looks like he did in the World Cup. Things haven't been flowing for him in a Belgium kit. He had some good showings for Roma this year, of course, but it wasn't that impressive either. And I feel like Dybala stole the show and really set him up a lot, or at least relieved a lot of the pressure on Lukaku. Romania, I really liked in the qualifying and nations leagues and things going back. They're going to play great defense like they did against Ukraine. And they have a full goal of insurance in their pocket. I think there's very little chance that I avoid this number. And I think this is a very desperate Belgium team, but I don't know that that goes well for them. I also like under 2.75 here. I feel like there's going to be a very low probability that Belgium are scoring a bunch of goals here. So under and underdog seem very interesting to me. Correlated, of course, and I think you got a really good defense that I think will make it very hard on Belgium to really do anything of note, because this is a pretty big deal for them to try to do something, anything to try to rectify their situation. I think their golden generation is going to turn to dust very, very soon. Felt like Kevin De Bruyne didn't look anything like what we know him to be as well. So that I think will do it going through each match of match day 2 of the Euro 2024. Thank you all for the support and following me along so far on this journey. We will find some more winners, and I think it's time for that ultimate best bets. So let's get into it. Hey, this is the real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. This is the ultimate best bet coming from the Euro 2024 podcast, Betting the Pitch, going through the entire match day 2 for the European Soccer Championship, Football Championship, if you call it that. If you're not a member of my Patreon, check it out, patreon.com/the real_G Warner, best spot to get all my plays, leans, write-ups across all sports, a lot of baseball, and of course, a lot of soccer, including a Copa America podcast coming up probably tomorrow, because I've already done 2 podcasts today. Don't think I have more of my voice for it. But I got to pick an ultimate best bet so you can grade me. Went 1-0 on the first round, took the under in the Slovakia matchup, only 1 goal. And that was a big upset. Wasn't expecting that direction, but good for the under there as well. For my best bet on Saturday, June 22nd, actually, I'm going to go with Romania, 1.25 goal underdog to Belgium. I don't believe in Belgium. I haven't for a long time. Romania are going to set up to defend. That's how they're built to play. And I think they might win this matchup outright. And that'll do it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. I'll talk to you all this week. Stay tuned for the next Major League Baseball podcast, which I actually recorded tonight with A. Brooks Bets, plus the pregame one coming out Thursday for Friday's card, and then Copa America also coming out this week as well. Thanks so much, and talk to you soon.